My name is Sue Considine. I'm incredibly honored to be speaking with you today. I regret that jury duty has gotten in the way of my being face-to-face with you, but please contact me anytime to continue this discussion. You can find my contact information on the last slide, and I look forward to hearing from you and learning with and from you. I've spent my career in leadership roles in public libraries in the U.S. and more recently as an international consultant. I've had the pleasure to have facilitated the development and creation of the FFL Fab Lab, the first ever public library fabrication lab in a public library. Since that time, I've also been honored by the Obama White House as a champion of change as a result of my work integrating substantial interest-driven STEM and computer science learning into a public library's plan of service. This transformational activity has found a foothold throughout the industry in the U.S. and around the world in school, public, and academic libraries. However, there is so much more to do. Most importantly, we cannot do it alone. We, as librarians, do not have the capacity, time, expertise, and knowledge to fully support the wide range of literacies and experiences that our communities are interested in today. With the massive proliferation of technologies, devices, social media, and DIY culture over the past 15 years, communities look to their public libraries more and more to exercise curiosity and to become informed, educated, proficient, and master many new skills that lie within the humanities, sciences, and the trades. Libraries are no longer places of passive consumption of information. Today, U.S. libraries are or are becoming places of discovery, learning, active and dynamic participation, creating and sharing new knowledge. In order to be successful within this developing mandate for libraries, we must look to our communities to lead the way. Regardless of ever-changing and ever more complex community needs, the library remains. In spite of the positive and progressive proliferation of digital tools and means to find and consume information and to connect socially, libraries remain the physical space in every community where people will find access beyond physical and digital divides to tools, content, spaces, programs, services, and to each other as they seek, create, and share knowledge. Transforming library service models in physical spaces by first harnessing the interests and aspirations of the community through meaningful engagement and intentional innovation builds the capacity and strength of individuals and the larger community. Evolving thinking about libraries in the 21st century as community-led rather than library-defined is essential for our current and future libraries to continue to support and elevate the growth, learning, and building of our communities. Libraries are the one place in every community where all are equal, all are welcome, and all share the expectation of equal access to content, services, programs, learning, and support. My experience has taught me that the most powerful aspect of the public library is in our singular ability to level the playing field for all citizens to claim a place of belonging and to experience a common humanity, regardless of socioeconomic, educational, or any other aspects that can impact acceptance and participation in the larger community. Let's consider the complicated world that we live in, where our challenges are complex and our solutions unclear. Global warming, air pollution, incivility, political unrest, war, lack of faith in our leaders, concerns about safety and security, hunger, poverty, homelessness, food scarcity, drugs, and illnesses. Whether your library is in a large city or rural America, you are experiencing and dealing with these societal shifts and trends. For some in our communities, they are at daily risk. Their needs are pressing and urgent. As librarians, we know how, when presented with a need, to connect people with resources that can help them. All types of community service organizations do the good work of serving people each day. And if we are doing it right, we are partnering with them. Where libraries have a unique opportunity is in convening open discussions around these critical issues. There is debate within the library community as to whether or not libraries are neutral. For our purposes today, let's consider that libraries are places for every voice to be heard, regardless of politics, economics, or social standing. Our physical spaces and our ability to bring opposing views and timely topics to a place in the community where conversations can be had, where disagreements can be voiced, make libraries part of the solution as we wrestle with these 21st century challenges. Nothing demonstrates the equalizing effect more than experiential, participatory, or public laboratory efforts in our libraries. Neil Gershenfeld, a professor and director of MIT's Center for Bits and Atoms and author of When Things Start to Think, The Physics of Information Technology, and FAB, The Coming Revolution on Your Desktop, launched a class a decade ago at MIT called How to Make Almost Anything. Gershenfeld's ideas began to resonate with hackerspaces and pop-up community makerspaces, and finally with library-minded people. If a public library's core responsibility is to create equal access to ideas, information, technologies, and spaces, and to each other, why not to the tools and equipment and software that allow people to come together and make things? DIY culture, upcycling, and an interest in community-based manufacturing and the explosion of social media contributed to a perfect storm of opportunity for public libraries. Right at a time when our very existence was being questioned in a digital age and the internet era, we were faced with the perfect opportunity to evolve our thinking about what we create access to through our uniquely public platforms. We started to ask our communities about their interests, their challenges, their aspirations. Partnerships with non-library industry businesses to get our hands on the disruptive tools and technologies of making, and opening our doors even further to our curious neighbors. Gershenfeld stated, and I will paraphrase here, that the power of making is social. I couldn't agree more. The relationships, connections, and bridges to tolerance and understanding that have been built in our libraries over robotics tables, first LEGO League tournaments, game design, home repair sessions, crafting, sewing, and knitting, and all types of activities has been a remarkable catalyst for community strengthening and building. In order for libraries and librarians to be prepared and capable of responding to the ever more complex needs of our citizens in this digital age, libraries need to find new partners. We've learned from and have shared knowledge with educators of all types to support teaching and educational pursuits through the library. We are integrating meaningful hands-on learning into our service and program designs, and we are seeing a tremendous result. People of all ages learning to code, 3D design, and print new ideas and solutions, robotics for every age, immersive summer and school break STEM camps that bring together school-age children with STEM role models, including engineers, programmers, pilots, scientists, physicists, graphic designers, architects, mathematicians, both male and female role models who share their stories, their passion for the field, and who also offer hands-on experiments and so much more to light that spark, to make the notion of a STEM career dynamic and attainable to our young students before they enter middle school and decide, especially girls, that STEM fields are not for them. Question: how can we simultaneously unleash and leverage the power and knowledge of the community while bringing learning, sharing, and discovery to the larger community? Ideally, librarians are endowed with the 21st century skills and are empowered to both serve diverse communities and to elevate and enrich the profession. Dave Lankeys, who needs no introduction, in the New Librarianship Field Guide says, to be a librarian is not simply about knowing how to do things, but about knowing why things are done. And what underlies our knowledge-based profession is the nature of knowledge itself. The way we understand the process of becoming knowledgeable or learning affects the services we offer, the way we organize resources, the way we evaluate our performance, and ultimately, the value we provide as professionals to our communities and society as a whole. Librarians and staff must be empowered to engage in new and meaningful ways directly with the community, to begin to assess and redefine what is valuable and relevant to facilitate from and through the library. Along with a new definition of librarianship may emerge the pathway to a new culture, a more outward-facing culture, one that partners and collaborates with a variety of professions and industries to work with us as we work to meet ever-changing societal needs. On culture, Tony Haish of Zappos, we all know Zappos, the internet shoe giant, states that if you get the culture right, everything else falls into place. Nowhere is this more true than in our libraries. Internal and external pressures on our organizations demand fundamental organizational change. In order to meet demand, we need to focus on developing the capacity of existing and future librarians and professionals to shape and reshape the organizational cultures that currently exist and integrate ideas and expertise from a variety of professions, from classroom teaching to social work to engineering, through internships to volunteerism, into our cultures. So we develop the capacity to learn from experts outside of the library profession to meet modern needs. We cannot affect culture change if our staff members feel overwhelmed, outclassed, and unprepared to meet these challenges. This is a moment of great opportunity to begin to think creatively and strategically about partnerships and collaborations and the nature of our work. We are responsible for continuous organization-wide assessment of programs, services, and spaces, with emphasis placed on the need to understand and measure impact of library services for reasons ranging from relevance to sustainability to funding, developing a deeper current understanding of community aspirations, trends, and needs. This assessment also helps us to understand the gaps in community needs and the skill sets of our staff and teams. This is the intersection where partnering can lead to a much needed infusion of creativity, expertise, and ideas. For example, if engineers teach librarians about the engineering design process, librarians can then translate their new understanding into community lesson plans with clearly identified outcomes and learning objectives. Classroom teachers can teach librarians how to teach, write lesson plans, and integrate outcomes-based learning into our more informal, interest-driven learning structures. Library administrators can learn from school and municipal administrators, helping us to plan effectively and to align our strategic goals with those of the larger community. Creative lifelong learning opportunities for staff, not only in collections, emerging tech, programming, and leadership, but also in fast emerging areas such as coding, robotics, STEM, teaching, DIY, and also important skill areas that are so necessary to support the whole community, such as principles of social work, digital literacy, project management. We can contribute to both the learning and well-being of the community by developing nimble and flexible budgets and by creating the conditions that allow the library staff to be responsive to emerging and evolving needs by creating local agents of change, informed, prepared, and confident to meet and exceed the community's expectations of librarians and libraries. You will be surprised by the diversity and richness of the interests and skills of the staff beyond the Masters of Library and Information Science. One can imagine the limitless possibilities if librarians begin to strategically partner with diverse enthusiasts and experts. The diversity and creativity of learning experiences that can result for our communities is without limits. The Abundant Community, a profound little book by John McKnight and Peter Block, suggests, and I'll paraphrase here, every community has what it needs within the community. Let's think about that. Every community already has what it needs within the community. This simple, elegant idea is, in fact, from my perspective, a call to action for libraries. It suggests to me that we not only have the responsibility to reach out, identify, and leverage community knowledge, but to bring a wondrous diversity and variety of learning and sharing to the community, by the community, through the library. Consider, community members are also teachers, graphic designers, engineers, musicians, computer experts, cooks, inventors, poets, crafters, sewers, doctors, knitters, upcyclers, boaters, skiers, researchers, scientists, writers, hikers, retirees, coaches, parents, grandparents. The list is endless. A total re-envisioning of volunteer to community participant is essential as we transform our approaches to meaningful engagement. For example, at the FFL, I had the opportunity to create a new volunteer model sparked by the ideas of McKnight and Block to begin to tap into the community and discover the talents and interests that lie there. Questions for the community participant forum are not the typical questions asked of volunteers. For instance, what you can do for the library, but rather aspirational questions including, how can the library help you to share your interests, expertise, and knowledge with your neighbors? 3 simple questions, for example, might be, what do you love to do? What are you passionate about? Are you willing to share your time, knowledge, and ideas with your neighbors? Your entire organization, like good assessment, should be involved in asking these questions of the community. Board members, circulation clerks, friends, librarians, volunteers, all should be enlisted in speaking for the library through this strategic process of asking the community to share their time and knowledge. Everyone is authorized to ask these questions, gather the feedback and the information so that library staff can follow up and engage with the community members who have so much to share. These questions might seem awkward at first. However, watch as people warm up quickly to the idea of talking about what they love. They'll ask you, really? I can show others how to sew, wire a home, write poetry, design a robot, or make wedding favors at the library? The answer to one and all of these questions must be yes. We need to do what we have always done, only more completely. By opening our spaces, resources, and support to community participants, we bring so much more opportunity and value to the community through the expanded learning and programming that we can offer from and through the library. Meaningful participation contributes to a sense beyond belonging, but an ownership of the success and well-being of the community. And the library, watch as your support within the community grows as people become owners rather than investors in their library's success. Please join me in assuming abundance rather than deficit in our communities. Imagine the wide and wondrous diversity beyond jewelry making, computers, fabrication, robotics, sewing, and digital design. Imagine the sheer number of enthusiasts and experts in more topic areas than we can possibly imagine who are thrilled to have the opportunity to share what they know and love with their neighbors. Creating thoughtful spaces and environments that allow for the community to define how they utilize those spaces and what they would like to do, achieve, and create in those spaces is one key to this type of library transformation and long-term relevance and sustainability. How do you start this engagement? It can be as simple as putting big sticky notes on your walls and prompting people to describe what they would like to see, do, and achieve in the spaces. Offer the same engagement through your website, point to it in your newsletter, and take it out to community group meetings. Our traditional model puts the librarian in the center of creation, learning, and programming. It is neither possible nor ideal for library offerings to be limited by the capacity, expertise, and skills of a staff. Opening the door to the community allows for all of the diversity and unique skills and interests that exist outside the library doors, yielding limitless possibilities, a new sense of ownership, and a change in community perception of the value and the impact of the library. Also essential to maintaining creativity and curiosity, meaningful lifelong learning opportunities for staff by community participants that support creation might include anything from engineering, sewing, coding, 3D printing, computer-assisted design, video and music production, and more. Staff can develop and master new skills, and most importantly, gain new confidence, all cost-effectively facilitated by professionals and enthusiasts. Librarians and staff report that they are intimidated, overworked, overwhelmed by the idea of having to master disruptive technologies and learning and adding new skills to an already overfilled plate of responsibilities. As noted in a recent American Libraries article, Other Duties as Assigned, Graham Tedesco Blair, in an interview with Ann Ford, states plainly, and I could not love the simplicity of his statement more, you have to do the job that is there, not the one that exists in your head. We are here to serve the community, and what they need now is what we are going to do. Also in American Libraries, Nancy Malone Hill in the Deskless Library notes, we are acknowledging the shift in expectations of users and are beginning to dismantle barriers to service, including the removal of service desks, and we are cross-training and empowering staff. Through assessment, the reality is that 90% of reference questions can be answered at circulation. Imagine the creativity and innovation that can come from librarians when their time is not being spent on directional or ready reference questions. As a side note, Maxine Bleiweiss, a library director, consultant, and speaker at this conference, has done a lot of good work helping libraries move away from the desks. Please contact her. She can help you work through this process. So an important note for managing change internally, within and in support, within and in support of our evolving new culture, we need to write job descriptions that support the diversity, creativity, and unique skills of employees, encourage them to reach beyond the job description in their efforts to serve the community. Most importantly, giving them the latitude, training, support, and encouragement necessary to do so. Democracy, social infrastructure. Why is this important to us? Well, we're all part of the community, so we all have the responsibility to contribute to its well-being and growth. Tommi Laesho, Helsinki Executive Director for Culture and Leisure, states in the New York Times, we often think that things like social cohesion or democracy are just words, but in spaces like these, libraries, they really come to life. In 2010, after the closing of over 800 libraries, British Prime Minister Johnson told Marr of the BBC, "We want to be spending more. We want to be supporting local authorities, but some local authorities have been able to manage their finances so as to open libraries." I give you the example of my own borough of Hillingdon in West London, where they opened libraries. I want to invest in libraries, but we can only do that when we get the economy really motoring. In response to this, among other things, Nick Poole, chief executive of CILIP, finally, Mr. Johnson appears to suggest that the country can only afford libraries when there's been an economic recovery. As we have commented time and again, this is a fundamentally misguided policy. By investing in libraries, you create opportunities for education and skills across the country, which in turn creates the conditions for future economic growth. This is a similar argument played out in library funding arenas all over the world. We need to prove it. We need to change the dialogue about our secondary position, our unessential nature in tough times, and our passive impact as places of simple consumption. We need to prove it, our value, our relevance, our impact, not only with data, but with the qualitative evidence, the stories behind the data of real outcomes and meaningful return on investment of well-funded libraries in communities around the world. We need to show that supporting libraries is the only choice, not a want, but a need for resilient, strong, literate, informed communities. The essentialness of libraries to level the playing field for all in good and bad economic times, but when times are tough, more so than ever. The time for talk really is over. We need to prove it. Eric Kleinenberg, author of Palaces for the People, in an interview with Brendan Dowling for Public Libraries magazines on social infrastructure. I use the concept social infrastructure to refer to the places and organizations that shape the way we interact. The notion is that if we invest in social infrastructure, if we build it well, if we maintain it, we make it more likely that people will have pleasant and recurrent interactions with friends and also strangers. If those interactions happen enough, they develop into relationships and sometimes even community. But also, if we do not invest in social infrastructure, if we let it fall apart and get degraded, then we are more likely to become isolated. The paradigmatic case is the library. Kleinenberg goes on to say that libraries are essential. It's not just the physical space that matters. It's also the people who work at libraries and make them function. The public service work that librarians do is essential to democracy. For many individuals, it can mean the difference between success and failure, or even life and death. These observations and ideas are not new. However, what is exciting about Eric Kleinenberg and his excellent book is that a non-librarian is connecting all of these dots. Consider, we need all of us working in tandem to deliver on our promise to our communities. We ask our communities, our stakeholders, our decision makers to understand and support the value and impact of libraries in communities across the US and around the world. So let's prove it. Partner shamelessly. Create pathways for staff growth, learning, and success. Engage in meaningful ways with your community and allow them to not only participate in the library, but show them the open door to lead our community's agendas. Be brave, convene the important discussions, and be at the problem-solving and decision-making tables in your community. Fly that library flag high. I'd like to leave you with a thought and a thank you. None of you are just in anything. However, rock star, superhero, superpowers, these are all hard things to live up to, and it's not really what we are about, is it? Librarian, library worker, administrator, technologist, educator, manager, administrator, programmer. I will tell you what you are. You're all wizards, working relentlessly every single day, often with few resources, to improve, empower, and enhance the quality and experience of the lives of individuals and your community. You are the best kind of badass. Thank you for your passion, your knowledge, your patience, your commitment, your resilience, your good humor as you work each day to do this good work. It is regularly not easy, but no truly good things are they? I wish I was able to have some Q&A time with you today. However, please note my contact information on the final slide and contact me anytime. I should be out of jury duty next week. I've included citations and resources here. Please don't judge me. Formatting is not my strong suit. Contact me anytime. Have a great conference.